Hello, class. Welcome to my advocacy in action project. My advocacy area of interest, my advocacy area was focused on spreading education in places in Rwanda to be able to decrease the number of children in child labor. My goal is to be able to provide a simple economic way for children to receive education, to allow them to have a better future and not have to work in hard jobs for the rest of their lives. To be able to accomplish this, I have grown a passion to advocate on this problem to allow them to have an opportunity to not get stuck in working. Analysis research. The research that I was able to conduct on this problem showed that even though that there was already a decrease in child labor from a while back to now, it is still an occurring problem. As shown on the International Labor Organization, quadrennial estimates that reveal a drop of 47 million child laborers over the last 4 years internationally, leaving 168 million youth still in child labor and 85 million trapped in hazardous work. This research shows that child labor is still a problem and needs to be fixed by providing the children with options of education that doesn't cost them to be able to have. My personal narrative, as someone that has gotten the opportunity to be able to see this problem in person, it has created a compassion in me for children that aren't being able to go to school because of having to work or being pushed into working. I got to see this in person at the age of 15 while visiting my parents' hometowns and seeing how there was 8 to 10-year-olds working in fields while school hours were going on. Because of having to drop out to work or being forced by parents to go to work in fields jobs. Because of this experience that I had, now I want to be able to make a difference in children not getting an education because of child labor. My partnered organization was Peace Corps. Their mission is to be able to promote human connection and be able to get people to interact and learn from each other through the volunteers that they have throughout the 60 countries that they help in. The Peace Corps organization has 3 goals that they go by. 1 is to be able to help countries interested in meeting their need for trained people. 2, to help promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of the people served. 3, to help promote a better understanding to other peoples on the part of Americans. Interview highlights. My first interview was with Samuel Muhire, which is the financial coordinator. Sam told me that in a community, what people want to see is that they are able to determine the ways that they are being helped in, because no amount of money in the world is what is needed. But what really helps in communities is to be able to come together to fix the problem that they are facing with the help of us. My advocacy path was altered because they weren't really an organization that focused on child labor or preventing it. What I decided to do was to focus more on the way of being able to spread education to places in Rwanda that maybe don't have easy access to it, to be able to fill up gaps that would allow students to look away or step back from child labor. As I was able to gain a lot of information from him, his knowledge his knowledge about being a leader, being able to get information about helping me to advocate for this problem wasn't something that I really was able to get through him. So this being a problem I ran into, I had a second interview with another leader of Peace Corps that is the coordinator of communications and is more involved in education and volunteers. The second interview that I had was with Leslie Rojas, a communications coordinator. This was a second interview that I had and she was able to teach me the amount of things that really go on in Peace Corps and the involvement with the country and how education really is run. She clarified that yes, the government does have a mandate that children have to go to school, but that's as far as it goes, meaning that they cannot do anything about them not going, so that is the problem. The problem is that the parents don't actually get in trouble for sending their children to schools. They send their children to work to help at home. Besides not having the right resources, charging for children to attend school is another problem that they run into. This interview allowed me to be able to solidify my advocacy. I was able to come up with a more solid and stable way of being able to advocate for this organization. My objectives was that Peace Corps would be able to allow me to help out in the way of being able to advocate for this problem, and also for them to be able to help me better the way that I was going to do this. The targets were wanting to reach out to volunteers and other organizations that are willing to help out with supplies or money. The reason that volunteers are in my targeted audience is because without them being able to go out to advocate for this would be not possible. Some opponents that I ran into throughout being able to come up with this was that the opponents that would be Rhonda's government financing and the lack of support that is given to education for children. My key message was that I was able to come up with based on the Peace Corps missions and their goals was still using the volunteers to do teaching, but instead of to children, more focused on teaching adults that were willing to then be trained and teaching their children in their communities. Another thing would be to getting financial help and supplies from the United States and having Peace Corps organizations hold fundraisers and ways of collecting these things and then being able to send them over there because of the lack of supplies that there is for them to be able to actually go about teaching these kids with the right resources and tools. My activities to be able to bring my ideas together. The second interview that I had with Leslie, she helped me put together a survey that would allow for me to collect data back, as well as being able to make a flyer that would help after the data that I got back from the survey. The data that I did more into detail was a survey that was done to be able to better my idea on how I wanted to advocate for the problem. I was able to get responses back from volunteers that are currently in Rhonda helping with the education side of Peace Corps. The other thing that I did was a flyer. The flyer was done in the way to be able to encourage people to donate supplies to be able to send out to Rhonda so that the newly trained teachers would have supplies and resources to be able to start with. My reflection was that there was so much hard work, dedication, smart thinking, and passion that goes into being able to accomplish a project like this in the real world. I did realize that the lack of dedication that I thought that I had for this topic, I think I would have been able to get more information and more solidified project if I would have been able to get focused on one specific thing and not start with one advocacy problem and have to modify it based on the organization that I ended up being able to partner with. The follow-up that I plan on doing, I think based on the work and mission values that Peace Corps I have gained an interest in being able to be a part of the organization and taking the chance to become a volunteer. I would follow up with them based on the information that Leslie would get back to me once this course is over. When talking to her, she thought that my idea was my idea with a few modifications and more reasonable approach would be able to work something off of it. I think for me, being able to hear this from her encouraged certain thoughts and wanting to be able to help out more in this organization and being able to make an even greater impact with them than they already accomplished. These are my references, and I hope that you enjoyed going through my advocacy project. Thank you.